And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Today we're talking about Hytale. This is a big deal because this has been a project since like 2015. So Minecraft modder developers got together to make something a little different, and publisher Riot got in on funding it. I guess as sort of like a Minecraft competitor or alternative. 2015 feels like forever ago, but a lot of people were looking forward to this and following this project for a long time, and now it is actually finally here. So the game was bought by Riot, but then they eventually canceled that summer of last year. But then the original founder of the project got it back and got the rights to it, and now the game is out in early access. They were pretty upfront about how early access this really is, and their website warns casual players that this thing just isn't finished yet. Still, with this thing being so long in the works and it having a lot of dedicated fans excited about the ambition for a long time, we really just figured it was time to take a quick look at it. So you purchase it through their official site and download the game through a launcher. There are different kinds of early access tiers with different perks you can buy into, but generally you get access to the main feature sets either way. And while, yes, this is very early access still, you can really see the ambition and the potential here. It really does feel like a true Minecraft successor in a lot of ways. A slightly different vibe, sure, but like a visual feast, smooth, satisfying movement and animations, some light RPG mechanics, super in-depth crafting, combat, and a lot of stuff that is still in the works. I'll be honest, I've only been able to like scratch the surface through some solo play, just like doing a little adventuring. Like this is just like my raw, unresearched reaction jumping in after quite a few hours. But I've liked what I've seen so far, and I feel like that Minecraft survival loop addiction really came back and hit me real quick after all these years away from playing that. So it certainly is unfinished. It clearly needs more, but it feels like it's a good foundation. So you create a server and you drop in. There's nothing to it, really, like no onboarding. Just spawning and starting in this temple, and then you open up the front doors of the temple, and you are smacked in the face with this vibrant, detailed, blocky world. Flowers and bushes swaying in the breeze, long draw distances where you can see different biome types, a really detailed skybox glows with the sun, atmospheric effects, birds and butterflies flying around, ambient lighting. It really does have a lot of like wow factor right out of the gate. And I'm surprised they could get me with that, like with my cynical ass. We've seen, Minecraft modded up the wazoo. We've seen Minecraft with RTX lighting, but this really just feels like a different thing. And I opened those doors and I was like, damn, it literally felt like, when you're first revealed to the open world in a Bethesda game, like a Fallout or an Elder Scrolls, when you finally come out of that first dungeon and you see everything in front of you. Hytale manages to have that effect. And the game itself is essentially maximalist Minecraft. There's just a lot more of everything. When you punch a tree and you get wood, turns out there's a bunch of different types of wood you can get. There's a bunch of different types of stone you can get that allow you to craft all different types of stuff, different levels of detail, color, all complemented by a bunch of different styles of workbenches you can build to build different things. There are really long loops and long chains of crafting progression here right out of the gate. It is really impressive just how much stuff they have. If you want to be super decorative, like obviously I only was able to build my regular basic cabin because I wanted to get out there and adventure, but the level of detail you can add to environments is pretty staggering. Just like kind of giving a spin, giving a look through the crafting options. There's a lot. That also comes down to tools and weapons, multiple different tiers and levels of all the tools and stuff like that. It just means there is a lot to do, a lot to grind through if you like this type of stuff. Building is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It works how it usually does in these types of games, and it has a little option to rotate things, little useful quality of life features here and there that I really enjoyed, but I was able to build stuff pretty quickly, and you may have heard that the game is buggy or glitchy. Building stuff is where I first started to encounter some of those visual glitches. The roof I built over my house resulted in a lot of weird visual texture flickering that kind of made my house look a little crappier than it should have, which was a bummer, but small things like that. The map is really big. It only shows you some of it at the start, but you're free to wander and do whatever you want. But it makes sense to wander close because you can very easily quickly find a portal to this kind of optional area with this civilization. Here, it is very much work in progress. This little hub world you can teleport to generally looks like it's set up for a lot of questing, dealing with NPCs, dealing with vendors and shops and stuff like that, cashing things in. But as of right now, almost all of that is covered with under construction signs. You get to see and interact with essentially two types of like NPC vendor mob guys where you can trade some stuff. But as of right now, this whole thing is kind of underwhelming. But at least in this area, you do get access to this magical statue that you click on, and you can cash in memories here. So the way you unlock new crafting recipes and gears is through collecting these memories. These are like mob memories. So encounter X number of zombies or X number of rabbits or pigs out in the world and killing them. And checking that box, crossing them off the list and then going back and cashing them in here can help you progress. But getting back out into the main open world and adventuring, combat is a really big thing here. It's like actual real combat. It's still pretty mindless, it's still pretty simple, but you essentially can swing your weapon, you can hold the button for a special charge attack that is weapon specific. You can also hold down a block button to defend yourself against incoming attacks, as well as build up a special meter to do an ultimate attack. And these ultimate attacks are also weapon specific. Right now, the enemies, all that stuff is pretty basic. Their attacks are pretty spammy, so it's not very refined combat at all. But the fact that it has like a little bit more to it than these games typically have is great. Also, the animations are pretty good as well. Along with that, you can sprint, you can crouch, you can actually crouch slide, and you can kind of sneak around some enemies with the crouch button, which has been nice to see. So you get a little bit of flexibility here. A lot of times you'll be wandering around and see a giant bear or something that would kill you in 2 hits, and you can sneak around them. Doing that in this style of game is really cool, and I'd like to see more of this, and I'd like to see this really taken advantage of and expanded out a little bit if they can. There's melee, there's range, there's also apparently going to be magic, but melee was pretty satisfying. Again, it's really simple, and I still think it needs a lot more. It's still a little spammy, a little cheesy, but I like that it's a little bit more in-depth, and then that coupled with the weapon upgrades and all the different little armor pieces you can equip on your character, it just seems like it has a lot of potential. Wandering around, you can also find a lot of like areas. I found abandoned castles, abandoned houses, little hidden caves, usually occupied by a couple of random enemies or mobs, and then I'd usually find a little crate that would give me a couple of things. Usually nothing too exciting, but I'd find at least a couple of useful things here and there. I'd also find big enemy strongholds, like big walled off gated areas filled with enemies, dangerous enemies. And these places look like they have a lot of potential for like higher level combat. If I show up like super OP later, this could be a blast, but as of right now, it's kind of just shit you run away from. Still, they look really impressive, and they're some of them are bigger than you'd expect. Also, dungeons and kind of like dungeon-like areas are also out there, but some of those, unfortunately, also have just big work in progress signs over them, so there's only so much you can do here in this world. While it seems and feels like there's a lot more with these enemy strongholds and potential dungeons and secrets, it still kind of comes down to you grinding through a progression loop, trying to get cooler armor, get a mount, find a very specific item. But I didn't really seem to mind it too much because I was taking it slow. I was really like, stopping to smell the roses. And a big part of that is, again, thanks to the game just being like maximalist Minecraft, meaning I was always encountering new, animals, new plant life, new enemies. There are so many different enemy types in this game. It was pretty surprising. Some badass looking skeleton zombie soldiers, cool creatures, scary spiders, killer wolves, weirder stuff. It's all different types of fish. There's so much going on here. And along with that, like I said, this all leads to there just being a lot of different things to craft, things to upgrade, things to progress through. And so far, I think that serves as a great foundation for when the game also gives me a little bit more to do in the world. And I say this as someone who tends to play these solo. I'll do multiplayer once in a while, and you do have the multiplayer features here, which is great, but I really like the direction this is going, even if right now, it clearly feels unfinished. It feels content light. It feels like they want to put more in it. There are placeholders for things, so I'm excited to see what does come. In terms of glitches and bugs, I know some people had issues. I did have a little bit of a problem getting it running, but once I tweaked some settings, I was all right. And then after that, small glitches, like I said, the flickering I mentioned earlier, falling through, areas and floors every so often, very, very, very rare. But also occasionally I would see an enemy or like mob just kind of blink and disappear. Nothing crazy, nothing game breaking for me personally yet in my hours. But yeah, the only other thing I can really point out that I really liked is, again, the time of day, the weather effects, the lighting, all that is gorgeous, coupled with some pretty good music, like some relaxing music. The game really passes that quote unquote vibe check, so to speak, along with the fact that there are like a lot of biomes. I don't know how many there are, but in a handful of hours, I definitely saw probably well over 10, with every single one feeling pretty uniquely different while also containing the stuff I mentioned before, potential dungeons or an enemy stronghold or a little abandoned hut that had an enemy and a chest in it. It's just good to see. So yeah, I will say, like, right now it is, again, very unfinished in terms of content. What is there is really well done. Again, smooth animations, really, really good visuals, just kind of smooth as butter movement. Your character runs, jumps, sprints, hops easily, actually mantles over one level blocks, can climb up little ledges. It's pretty cool to be this fluid in a Minecraft style game, and it makes me excited for the future. All that is a roundabout way of saying, like, the game, the bones are really good. It just needs more in the combat and essentially more to do. But in terms of the world construction, the biomes, the tiers and the depth to crafting and building, all that stuff is there and it's great. Not to mention the feature set outside of just going into like a survival adventure mode. There's also like a free mode and building mode. The game also does have a dedicated space for mini games, and I assume like player and developer created style games. You can't access those yet, but it does seem like the game is going to account for those, and you like seeing that. I just think if you're coming into this game looking for a bit more to do, in terms of like content to engage with, I would say wait, I would say hold off. But I'd say if you're a Minecraft person just for the building, that stuff is already pretty cool and fun to mess with. Again, the game is very early access, but I'm excited to see like how this game looks a year from now, 2 years from now. They've been upfront saying they've gotten funding. This is going to move ahead. And despite it being a thing since like 2015, 2016, I was surprised how fresh it feels here. Maybe it's for a younger audience, sure, I don't know, but I am really excited to see where Hytale goes. But that's a quick before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. Now I want to hear your personal opinion. Have you been following the release, the development of Hytale? Did you jump in? What do you think? Are you holding off? Let me know anything you want about Hytale. Would love to hear from you. If you like this video, seeing the gameplay on screen here, maybe it helped you out, clicking the like button's all you gotta do to help us out. We appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing because we put out videos every single day, man. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.